ratings, she's directly responsible. And people were resenting her for it, like she was the cause of the problems that they had for the lack of recognition. No, she just happened to be born white. That's it. Caitlin Clark hasn't spoken against anybody. She hasn't assisted in denying anybody else the privileges they deserve. If anything, she's tried to provide assistance. A rising tide lifts all boats. She's trying to be the rising tide that lifts the boats.
Pay close attention to this. It wasn't whispered by Stephen A. Smith. He made no indication of it. On national television, he said it out loud. The entire game has been altered by Caitlin Clark. Not everyone in the room was able to cope with it. The desk fell silent. The eyes moved. Molly froze as well. If you appreciate true excellence, please hit like and leave a comment before this continues, as you are currently witnessing history. This wasn't your typical sports argument. Hot Take TV wasn't this. This was a line drawn by Stephen A. Smith. Behind the scenes, Nike numbers were already making the rounds. Executives were observing. There was a buzz in the media rooms. The confirmation then came. Stephen A. leaned forward, gave Molly a direct look, and expressed what many others were afraid to acknowledge. This is what made all the difference.
No, Molly, you did not say that, Molly. No,
no, that's not what you said.
That's not what you said, Molly.
What are you guys
that is not what you said.
I literally just brought it up.
You were talking about you were talking about folks making the point that, at the time that they had picked the Olympic team, Caitlin Clark didn't necessarily deserve it based on her play on the court. When the point that Shannon and I was making at the time was that, wait a minute, in the end, there are people that have ended up on Team US.
No, Molly. Molly, you didn't say that. What do you say? You didn't. You didn't say that, Molly. You did not say that. You just mentioned it. You were discussing how people were making the excuse me point when they selected the Olympic team. Based on how we played on the court, Caitlin Clark didn't necessarily deserve it. At the time, Shannon and I were arguing that, wait a minute, some people have ended up on Team USA.
You're not listening, Molly. You're not listening. I'm talking about your point, Molly. Your point.
And I'm explaining it to you.
At the end of the day, we were making the point. Do you want to promote the league or not? And people like Andrea and others were resistant to that playing a role in somebody making the roster for Team USA. And we were saying, hell with that. You want to promote the sport. You put that girl up in there, and people were appalled at that notion. That was the subject.
But Stephen A., this is just going to come from different perspectives, because you all's initial point was a marketing point, and that was what I was arguing with. That was what I was arguing with.
Right.
The marketing point for Caitlin. What Molly is trying to say, and what I agree with, is now that we have seen how Caitlin finished this season, there is a good basketball argument for her being on the team.
Not only did Caitlin Clark's new Nike contract perform admirably, but it also completely exceeded expectations, according to sources in sports marketing. Sales increased. Traffic on the internet increased. Merch moved more quickly than anticipated. Nor fake buzz, nor hype. Real demand, real money. Caitlin Clark was hardly an accidental choice for Nike. They choose her because when her name is spoken, people come.
Be resentful of the folks, primarily the white folks, who basically disenfranchised y'all all of these years before she came along, who denied you the acclaim and the allure and the profits you richly deserved. But you don't take that out on Caitlin Clark. Not her. She's the one that assists you. When black folks was marching during the civil rights era and fighting every battle they possibly could, they weren't dismissive, nor did they assist in denigrating the white people who marched with them. They saved the venom for those who wouldn't.
Politics isn't that. That's business. The temperature shifted at this point. Molly wondered about the effect. She asked about the scale. She wondered if Caitlin was being pushed too hard. Stephen A. did not cry or scream. Instead, he snapped calmly but sharply. Even worse, he took his time explaining it, much like when you try to communicate things to someone who doesn't want to hear them. The room changed at that point. Stephen A. clarified it. Style is debatable. Preferences are debatable. Results, ticket demand, TV viewership, Nike sales, and social media engagement, however, cannot be disputed. Caitlin Clark was more than simply a basketball player. The culture was being moved by her. And many feel uneasy about that. This is the reality that no one wants to publicly express. The system pushes back when a single player grows larger than it. Subtly, not overtly, nor immediately. Side remarks. Dismissive demands consistency. Yes, but when Stephen A. noticed it, he called it out. The tone shifted as a result. Caitlin Clark was doing the one thing that silences people during TV debates.
Great, and I am incredibly proud to join some of the best athletes in the world. I'm excited to share a first look at what we've created together. Y'all should have did this. We're going into year 3. Y'all should have did this year 1. Year 1. Let's take a look at that ad.
Hey, Caitlin! Can you make it from there?
She shot it from the other house.
Hey, Caitlin, how about from here?
Come on, guys.
Yeah, she can't make no chance.
Caitlin, from me to left? You got it.
Oh, they got Mama Bluter in here? Yeah, this is fire. Y'all got Travis Kelce them in there, and y'all.
Spectators responding before the ball even left her hands, deep shots, and pressure situations. It was palpable. The opposition was aware of it. Fans were aware of it. Without a doubt, sponsors were aware of it. This was not produced. It was indisputable. The argument was concluded by Stephen A.'s final point. Millions of dollars are not invested by brands simply on sentiment. They make investments depending on impact. Nike didn't speculate. They followed. They took measurements. They also made a commitment. Caitlin Clark's deal hit differently because of this. It wasn't only large. It was unavoidable. It has nothing to do with Molly. This wasn't about one segment. This has to do with verification. The next person to go is no longer Caitlin Clark. She doesn't seem promising. She is present. The conversation then shifts after that. The game proceeds despite the resistance and celebration of some. Stephen A. concluded it with nonverbal cues rather than words. There was nothing more to prove, so he leaned back and stopped arguing and explaining. The transaction was completed. The time has gone by. Additionally, Caitlin Clark remained silent. She didn't have to. It wasn't hype. This was not partiality. This was acknowledgement. Caitlin Clark didn't request the limelight. She deserved it. The world is now adapting. Some are quicker than others. Pay close attention to this. It wasn't whispered by Stephen A. Smith. He made no indication of it. On national television, he said it out loud. The entire game has been altered by Caitlin Clark. Not everyone in the room was able to cope with it. The desk fell silent. The eyes moved. Molly froze as well. If you appreciate true excellence, please hit like and leave a comment before this continues, as you are currently witnessing history. This wasn't your typical sports argument. Hot Take TV wasn't this. This was a line drawn by Stephen A. Smith. Behind the scenes, Nike numbers were already making the rounds. Executives were observing. There was a buzz in the media rooms. The confirmation then came. Stephen A. leaned forward, gave Molly a direct look, and expressed what many others were afraid to acknowledge. This is what made all the difference.